I am the fake daughter of the Marquis' household. It's hilarious, I'm not scared in the slightest, because I know that the First Lady has replaced every single child in the Marquis' household. My 5 elder brothers and 4 younger brothers. My 3 elder sisters and 2 younger sisters, they're all fake. Oh, wait, there's also the 6th brother, the illegitimate one. He wasn't switched by the First Lady. But he wasn't my father's child to begin with. Survival rate of the Marquis' offspring, 100%. Paternity rate, 0%. I, the 4th Miss of the Yangon Marquis Mansion. Just found out today that I am a counterfeit. Father, I am your biological daughter. My fake father looked at the biological daughter who looked just like him. Then looked at me. His expression was as if he had swallowed a fly. Right in this awkward moment, the First Lady walked in and settled everything with one sentence. It is all fate. Sheer is still my daughter. Does the mansion lack a single bowl of rice for her? I was moved to tears. I decided I must show her filial piety from now on. Until that very midnight. Madam, I verified everything as you ordered. The eldest young master practices martial arts. He takes after his biological father, Zhang the blacksmith from the west side. The 3rd young master is good at calculation. He takes after the accountant from the South City rice shop. The 5th young master has infinite strength. He's also the son of Zhang the blacksmith. The literary talent of the 2nd and 4th masters indeed resembles their scholar father. And what about the girls? The 2nd Miss is skilled in embroidery. Her mother was a Suzhou artisan. The 5th Miss has a beautiful singing voice. Her mother was a famous courtesan from the Qinhuai River back then. Madam, it is certain. All children under the Marquis' name, except for the true daughter who returned today, have no blood relation to the Marquis. The Marquis is unknowingly generous. It hasn't been in vain that I've planned for over a decade. My fake father must have desecrated the First Lady's ancestral grave in his past life. By the way, that girl Sheer wasn't frightened today, was she? The 4th Miss is deeply grateful to you. See, she truly considers you her support now. She's a sensible child, with her standing out in the front as a blatant fake. Who would suspect the other young masters? Whether the other misses are real or fake. So, not only am I a counterfeit. I'm a counterfeit used to cover for all the other counterfeits. A strategic buffer fake. How pitiful. I'm afraid that from now on, the real daughter will trample all over me. Let's do this. Double Sheer's monthly allowance. Pay it from my private account. Yes, madam. What is this? This woman is a genius. With her own strength, she replaced every child in her enemy husband's household, having learned such shocking secrets. My mindset underwent a qualitative change. Before, I was a trembling fake daughter. Now, I hold a nuclear bomb. No. I am the chief observer holding the survival codes for the entire mansion. Before breakfast, I accidentally ran into the true daughter, Lu Chanxian, in the garden. Look, 4th sister, father gave this to me yesterday. He said it's fine fabric from the palace. Sister has been in the mansion for so many years. You must have plenty of these, right? Younger sister, this bracelet is indeed beautiful. Father is so good to you. Of course, father said I am his biological daughter. Naturally, he gives the best to his biological daughter. Then you must cherish it well. After all, in this household, besides you, everyone else is a knockoff. At breakfast, looking at the table full of siblings, I felt like I was visiting the First Lady's solo art exhibition. Not bad, he has the foundation of the Lu family spear technique. He actually has the foundation of Zhang the blacksmith swinging a sledgehammer. My son's insight is extraordinary. It's extraordinary, alright. Your real son might be in the fields right now, extraordinarily digging up sweet potatoes, born with divine strength. My son takes after me. Takes after you? Takes after you in what? In being naive and easy to fool? Sheer. Mother, your complexion has been a bit weak lately. I had the kitchen stew some rock sugar bird's nest. Have some more. Father. Chanxian. No speaking while eating or sleeping. The First Lady used standard rules to crush Lu Chanxian, using centuries of the Marquis Mansion's traditions. Rules that seemed reasonable, yet were incredibly tedious. She slowly ground her down. Chanxian's little ambition to surpass me was worn away long ago. As for me, I perfectly played the role of a law-abiding, occasionally clumsy fake daughter. The doubled allowance from the First Lady, I used half to improve my own daily life and quietly hoarded the other half. Intuition told me, in this surreal home, having more private savings wouldn't hurt. Days passed in this bizarre yet calm balance, until my legendary 6th brother returned to the mansion. My 6th brother, Lu Hongxian, was brought in through a dusty little sedan, quietly through the side gate. According to the script circulating privately in the mansion, this was the result of a mistake the Marquis made in his youth, the kind all men in the world make. An illegitimate son kept hidden, but supposedly exceptionally brilliant. On the day he returned, the First Lady, Madame Shen, was leading us in the parlor, listening to a lecture on the biographies of exemplary women. Madam, the 6th young master has returned. I see. Settle him in Biwu Pavilion. Set his allowance according to the 5th young master's standard. Wait, the 5th young master's standard? That's barely enough for a decent maid. This treatment, let alone compared to us legitimate children, isn't even as good as a high-ranking servant's. This isn't the first lady's way of acceptance. This is clearly precise waste management. It's a precise classification of status. When the fake father came back from court and heard this, his face turned green. Even from afar, I could hear his low, suppressed, angry voice. Shanner is my flesh and blood. To treat him like this, wouldn't people laugh if word got out? Biwu Pavilion is cold and damp. Shanner is physically weak. How can he live there? His allowance is also too meager. Marquis, I am not being harsh. It is exactly for Shanner's sake. He has just returned to the mansion. His status is awkward. If he is elevated too high suddenly, it will cause resentment among his siblings. Wouldn't that make it even harder for him to fit in? Though the allowance is thin, his basic needs are met. If the Marquis feels for him, I shall simply pretend not to know if you supplement him privately. Listen to that, how high-sounding. Considerate of Shanner in every way. Meticulous and attentive, virtuous and magnanimous. The First Lady's move. Institutional coldness plus permission for the father to give special treatment. Both preserved her reputation and disgusted my fake father. Moreover, it branded the 6th brother as inferior. Brilliant, truly brilliant. I developed a strong interest in this 6th brother. In a family where everyone is a knockoff, suddenly an illegitimate son pops up. This plot is getting interesting. I staged another accidental meeting. In a remote corner of the garden, I bumped into Lu Hongxian, who was sighing at the moon. Wait, why does this face look familiar? I greeted him politely. 6th brother, no need for formalities. Are you used to the mansion yet? Do you lack anything? Just tell mother if you do. Wait, what was I saying? Telling the First Lady? Isn't that just asking for trouble? Is anything enough? It seems fake father's private supplements haven't arrived yet. The First Lady said she'd pretend not to know. Servants are the best at reading the room. I doubt they'll let the money reach him smoothly. We had some awkward small talk about the weather and food, then went our separate ways. So familiar. Where have I seen him before? Wait, that's not right. According to the top-secret files I overheard that night, Lu Hongxuan's mother was the mistress of Prince Jin. He should be Prince Jin's offspring. Why does he look like my cheap fake father? A few days later, fake father's tune changed. It started because he was triggered by something. He suddenly began praising Lu Hongxian frequently at the dinner table. Hongxian wrote this essay exceptionally well. Hongxuan's calligraphy is outstanding. He will surely become a great talent in time. You all should learn more from Hongxian. The siblings at the table had varying expressions. The eldest brother, Lu Honggu, snorted coldly. His movements while eating became louder. The second brother, Lu Hongwen's smile faded. He picked up food slowly and deliberately. The 5th brother, Lu Hongli, muttered directly. What's so great about writing a few words? Even the most indifferent third sister frowned slightly. The real daughter, Lu Chanxian, bit her lip. Her eyes turning red. She had been back for so long. And father had never praised her like that. And Lu Hongxian, at the center of the storm, was restless, his face turning red and white. I kept my head down and ate, knowing exactly what was happening. Fake father is putting Lu Hongxian on the hot seat, using him to motivate the other children, while showing off his own keen eye for talent and his deep fatherly love. The Marquis is right. Shanner is indeed hardworking. However, each child has their own strengths. Wu'er is brave, Wen'er is learned, Lear is honest and cute. They are all the Marquis' blessings. Shanner just returned to the mansion. He needs to get closer to his siblings. Don't let there be any distance between them. One speech, skillfully deflecting the tension. She affirmed fake father, comforted the other children, and pointed out that Lu Hongxian needed to integrate. Lu Hongxian looked at the First Lady gratefully, and quickly agreed, but I saw, as the First Lady lowered her eyes to sip tea, a faint, fleeting curve at the corner of her mouth. I know that look. It's the same look I saw behind the rockery that night, when she spoke about the generous conclusion. It was exactly the same. It seems the 6th brother's role as the tallest poppy is also a planned part of the First Lady's script. This Marquis mansion is truly a stage. Fake father thinks he's the director and lead actor, but in reality, he hasn't even touched the script. We, the actors, except for the real daughter Lu Chanxian who is struggling in ignorance. Everyone else more or less has their own roles and motivations, and will keep acting diligently, while the general director, Madame Shen, sits firmly in the control room, watching the screen full of role-playing, occasionally adjusting the lighting and lines, ensuring the mansion's drama progresses toward the shocking finale she has preset, steadily advancing. As for me, while I try my best to play the role of the former 4th Miss Outsider, I am frantically hoarding snacks and private money, preparing to welcome even more explosive plot twists in the future. Only, given the First Lady's style of switching kids, and the weirdly special treatment she gives me, could I also be some kind of surprise Easter egg? This thought sends a chill down my spine. Yet also makes me slightly excited. Heh. Lu Yunqi, stay steady. You're just a fake daughter who wants to watch the drama. Don't you dare. Jump into the spotlight yourself. The one watching the drama might one day get hit by the drama. This describes my current situation perfectly. The cause of it all is a jade pendant left by my biological mother. The quality is average. The carving is ordinary. The only special thing is a natural red streak in the jade. Like a drop of blood, I had always kept it hidden on my person. That day, the true daughter, Lu Qianqian, wandered into my little courtyard again. Ever since she realized I, the fake, wasn't kicked out, while she, the real one, was restricted everywhere. She often came to my place to borrow things. Sister's room is decorated more and more elegantly. She said that. But her eyes were like searchlights, scanning every item in my room. Finally, they landed on the jade pendant I had taken out to air. This jade looks quite unique. Lend it to me to play with for a few days. No. Lu Qianqian, put that down. That is not for you to touch. Not for me to touch? In this marquee mansion, is there anything I, the true miss, cannot touch? Instead, it's you, the daughter of a country peasant. Is there anything in this mansion that belongs to you? Shut up and give me back the pendant. And if I don't? Are you going to tattle to father and mother? Don't forget your real parents are digging in the dirt in the countryside. How could they have such an item? This pendant must have been left by my biological mother. Naturally, it belongs to me, the biological daughter. Her voice was sharp, as if she wanted the whole mansion to hear. I also lost my temper. This pendant was linked to the mystery of my birth. How could I let Lu Qianqian snatch it and throw mud on me? Fine. Then let's go before mother and clear this up. Let's see who mother decides this pendant belongs to. The two of us bickered all the way to the main courtyard. What is going on? Sisters pulling and pushing each other. Where are your manners? Mother, look, this pendant is clearly a memento left by my biological mother, but sister insists it's hers and won't give it back. She must be bullying me because my mother is gone. And your daughter has no one to support her. She truly knew how to twist the truth. But before I could say anything, the first lady waved her hand to stop me. Let me see. She took the pendant, held it against the light to examine the blood streak. Her eyes drifting as if she were remembering something. This pendant is an old item of mine. It had some connection with Sheer. Later, when Sheer grew up, I gave it to her mother. But mother, this jade, Qianqian, I know you miss your biological mother. It's pitiable, but every piece of concubine Lu's dowry jewelry is recorded, and there was no such item. Enough, Qianqian, you just returned. It's natural you don't know many things. Let today's matter end here. Do not mention it again. Sheer, your sister is young. She was mistaken. As the elder sister, be more tolerant. This pendant, keep it safe. Lu Qianqian's face turned beet red, but she didn't dare argue. She could only excuse herself, her back showing her resentment and hatred. This storm seemed to have settled. But the atmosphere in the mansion changed completely because of another shocking event. Prince Jing ascended the throne. When fake father heard the news, he locked himself in his study, crying and laughing. When he finally came out, he was radiant, looking 10 years younger. He walked with such a spring in his step, he seemed to float. He started summoning Lu Hongxian frequently, his eyes full of fervor. As if through the sun, he saw his future as the most powerful official, unrivaled in status. And Lu Hongxuan's change was visible to the naked eye. The previously low profile and cautious, even somewhat timid illegitimate son was gone. He wore fine silk robes he wouldn't have dared touch before. He walked with his head held high, his eyes filled with arrogance and disdain. Word was he had connected with some noble outside, and felt his status had skyrocketed. He looked at the legitimate children of the mansion with nothing but contempt. Especially me, the fake daughter, and that country-born real daughter. We were his main targets of mockery. Sixth brother is right. It's all thanks to father and mother's blessings. Sixth brother has worked hard outside, eat more. The fifth brother couldn't help but retort. Sixth brother is truly different now. What Yuer says is true, a man should distinguish himself. You all should learn from him. What unsettled me most was the first lady's reaction. Facing fake father's elation. Facing Lu Hongxuan's sudden arrogance. Facing this bizarre and excited undercurrent in the mansion. She was abnormally calm. She was like a truly silent and detached Buddha, quietly watching the people on stage perform. As if everything had long been predestined. This transcendental calm alarmed me more than any violent reaction would. Fake father Lu Zhenya's frenzy, finally, on a beautiful afternoon, reached its peak, only to be shattered into pieces. That day, he wore his finest court robes, his face glowing, ready to enter the palace in high spirits, to present his case. Xianer, father is going to go for you. To fight for a bright future for our marquee mansion. Lu Hongxian was also excited. He even couldn't help himself when he passed by me, mocking me in a low voice, fourth sister, Tell me, when my identity changes, should you call me sixth brother? Or should you call me your royal highness? I pretended not to hear, but silently lit a candle for him in my heart. Young man, your path is narrowing, just based on your face. I don't believe my cheap father's scheme will come true. Fake father went out. And it wasn't until dusk that he was carried back on a door plank by the imperial guards. His buttocks were covered in blood, and he had already fainted. It was said he knelt outside the imperial study for a long time, before finally being granted an audience. Your Majesty, my loyalty is as clear as the sun and moon. When the late emperor was still reigning, I was already secretly supporting you. Years ago, when your white moonlight Lady Feng tragically died, it was I who chanced upon the situation and saved her. I even raised the dragon's son she was carrying. He spoke with great eloquence, filled with emotion, feeling he was truly moving. The emperor, who was reviewing documents, paused his brush. He looked up. Lu Hongxian? You are certain this is Feng's son? Absolutely certain. Your Majesty, look at his features. Doesn't he resemble Lady Feng? I would never dare deceive the emperor. Resemble? I see a ghost of a resemblance. Lu Zhinya, how bold you are. To dare find someone so similar to yourself to impersonate a prince. To deceive the emperor. Do you truly think I am blind? Men. Marquis Lu Zhinya has deceived the sovereign. He has muddied the imperial bloodline. Take him down and give him 50 heavy strokes. Seal the Marquis mansion. Within 3 days. Deliver the true son of Lady Feng. If there is any further concealment, the entire family will be exiled. The news flew back to the mansion as if it had wings. Fake father only had a breath left in him when he was brought back. Lu Hongxian was like a spineless dog, cowering in Biwu Pavilion, not daring to come out. The mansion completely erupted in chaos. The new emperor ordered the delivery of the true son of Lady Feng. The scope of this true son became huge. Who was the real one? Who deserved to be the real one? Especially some who considered themselves exceptionally talented, feeling out of place with their mediocre biological mothers. Their minds immediately became active. The first to jump out was Lu Qianyu. The more she looked, the more she felt her beauty. And her voice, like an oriole's, could never have been produced by a small maid. It was impossible. I must have been switched back then. Perhaps, I am the lost pearl from the common people. Mother, the more your daughter thinks, the more it feels wrong. My parents back then were weak. How could they have a child as healthy as me? And with your daughter's looks and talent. There must be a hidden story. I beg mother to seek justice for your daughter. Her identity was like a cicada's song. Mother, your son also finds it strange. My biological mother was so small. But I was born with divine strength. This isn't logical. Could it be that I am also not her biological son? Third young master, fourth miss. Several siblings who felt extraordinary. All ran to the first lady to present their cases. Every word hinted they might have noble origins. And that they were definitely not the offspring of the Marquis and those concubines, the siblings who were harmonious in the past. Now, for the sake of a potentially noble status, seemed ready to tear each other's masks off. Mutual looks of suspicion were cast everywhere in the mansion. The real daughter, Lu Qianxian, had finally settled down. Her identity as the Marquis's biological daughter was set in stone, making her the safest, yet also the most hopeless one. She could only watch this farce with resentment, occasionally shooting me a look of extreme hatred. I hid in a corner, silently trying to reduce my presence. Yet I couldn't help but break into a cold sweat for my first mother. This scene was on the verge of spiraling out of control. Fake father lay on the bed, half dead and half alive, while these fakes, in their scramble to climb the social ladder, were practically trampling their own concubine mothers into the mud. How would first mother respond to the emperor's command? And how would she control this group of children who were about to go mad? However, first mother's scrutinized composure once again showed me what it meant to have Mount Tai collapse in front of one without changing expression. She sat upright in the main hall, listening to the passionate pleas of one child after another. Her face showed neither surprise nor anger. There was only a deep, compassionate weariness. Only when everyone had finished speaking did she slowly open her mouth. The emperor's decree is something the Marquis mansion must naturally obey. Since you all have doubts in your hearts, then let us investigate. Go and gather all the young masters and ladies of the mansion, as long as their ages match, and the records of their biological mothers could possibly be related to Lady Feng. List them all. Then go to the storehouse and bring the birth records of those years, the sales contracts of the concubines, and all the documents from the midwives and doctors. Furthermore, her calm gaze swept over the faces below, faces that were either excited, apprehensive, or guilt-ridden, to prevent anyone from saying the Marquis mansion is biased. Tomorrow I will invite the prefect of Jingzhou and the vice minister of the court of the imperial clan to the mansion, together with several highly respected elders. They will witness the verification. Whether it is true or false will be known with one investigation. But there is one thing I must say beforehand. Regardless of the test results, you are all children this Marquis mansion has raised for over a decade. If you truly are of royal blood, the mansion would not dare delay your future. If you are not, do not harbor resentment. And forget your roots. The Marquis mansion will always be your home. Her words were logical and well-grounded. Following both rules and principles, she fulfilled the imperial command and silenced the gossip, further displaying the justice and magnanimity of the household's mistress. Those children who had been clamoring the loudest, upon hearing this, couldn't help but feel a bit uneasy despite their excitement. Inviting outside officials and secret agents as witnesses. Isn't this arrangement a bit too grand? What if the investigation proves they are not? Only I noticed. The fleeting, nearly invisible, cold sneer at the corner of First Mother's mouth. Inviting people to witness. Witness what? To witness that Marquis Lusignan, besides a recently recovered, rustic, real daughter, all his other outstanding children, have absolutely no blood relation to him whatsoever. To witness that this grand Marquis mansion, and the scenes of domestic bliss for the past decade, were nothing but a meticulously calculated, absurdly ridiculous series of exchanging a prince for a civet cat. I could already envision the test tomorrow. The spectacular expressions on the faces of those witnessing officials. And the grand occasion where fake father, upon learning the truth, might just spit out 3 mouthfuls of blood and drop dead. First Mother's move wasn't to calm the situation at all. It was clearly adding fuel to the fire. She was worried fake father wouldn't die fast enough. She was personally tearing the mask off the mansion's all fake children, shredding it into pieces under public gaze. There is no higher way to kill a person's heart than this. I touched the warm jade pendant in my sleeve. The blood-colored veins seemed to grow even hotter. The light was becoming increasingly heavy in my hand. But for some reason, beneath my nervousness, a trace of inexplicable anticipation emerged. First Mother had directed this play for over 10 years. And it was finally reaching its climax. As a front-row VIP audience member, and also an extra who didn't know the full truth, I had to keep my eyes wide open and watch closely. The day of the kinship verification ceremony could be called a spectacle unseen in 100 years. The new emperor, once the Prince of Jing, had finally found the time. He sent the prefect of Jingzhou, eunuchs, and officials from the court of the imperial clan to arrive together at the Marquis mansion, showing concern for an old official and care for his offspring. They demanded all children of the mansion, regardless of legitimate or illegitimate status, to immediately verify their identities through the blood-dropping test. The ancient method was crude, yet it was the most direct. It would show vividly who was not of the Marquis' bloodline. Fake father, Lusignan, my cheap Marquis, turned pale on the spot. His lips trembled, yet he couldn't say a single complete sentence. He both hoped one of the children was of royal blood, and feared it would happen after his own hopes were crushed. First Mother sat upright and composed. She wore a set of solemn, plain robes. Not a strand of hair was out of place. Her hand fingered a string of sandalwood prayer beads. Her eyelids slightly lowered, as if she were merely listening to an ordinary religious service. A group of siblings was brought into the hall, standing in order. Eldest brother Lu Hongwu had a deep frown. Second brother Lu Hongwen's face was grim. Fifth brother Lu Hongli shifted his feet uneasily. Third sister, sixth sister, and the others were even paler, fingers clutching their handkerchiefs. The real daughter Lu Chanchan's eyes were red and swollen. She seemed to have been crying. At this moment, however, she bore a nearly pathological hope, staring fixedly at the bowl of clear water. Sixth brother stood at the very front, his back straight as a board. A faint, condescending smile even hung at the corner of his mouth. He was certain he was the only true dragon. Today was his moment to prove it. The silver needle pierced the fingertips in sequence. The first drop of blood. Eldest brothers fell into the clear water. The Marquis' blood was added as the second drop. They remained distinct and separate. The Marquis' pupils shrank. The second drop. Second brothers also did not merge. The third drop. Third sisters did not merge. When the pain came from the fourth drop at my fingertip, my mind went blank. The blood fell into the water and slowly sank, facing the Marquis' drop from a distance. Like the Milky Way, never to cross. I heard Lu Chanchan beside me gasp, which then turned into a distorted sense of pleasure. The fifth drop, sixth sisters, did not merge. The sixth drop, fifth brothers did not merge. Sixth brother was bypassed because it was impossible for him to be of royal blood. The rest followed one by one. Every person's blood was incompatible with the Marquis'. The hall fell into a deathly silence. Only those bowls of clear water remained, reflecting the faces of everyone present, pale or ashen, along with those unblended clumps of red, symbolizing the betrayal of the bloodline. He pointed at the children filling the hall. Too angry to speak. No. Impossible. This is impossible. Shenshur, it's you. It's you. You're the one behind this, you poisonous woman. The blood kinship test was the emperor's decree. The imperial clan and the eunuchs were present as witnesses. The water and silver needles were all prepared by the household. I have not touched them once from start to finish. As for these children, I have raised them since they were small, treating them as my own. At today's result, I am also heartbroken. But such is fate. Matters of bloodline cannot be forced. Treating them as your own? Shin Mingzhu, what a poisonous heart you have. You have severed the Lu family's line. You snake-hearted woman. The biological mothers of these children were all personally brought into the mansion by the Marquis. I merely fulfilled my duty to raise them. As for who their biological fathers are, how would I know? Perhaps it was an affinity they had before entering the mansion. Perhaps after they entered, the Marquis himself might not even remember. I only knew to take care of the Marquis's offspring with all my heart. Where is the fault in that? Fake father was shaking with rage. Yet he couldn't find words to refute her. Those concubines and maids were indeed all taken in by him. First Mother had always appeared virtuous and magnanimous. Who could have expected this situation? This Madame Marquis is not simple. With just a few light words, she pushed the serious crimes of muddied bloodlines, and switching children onto the unfaithful biological mothers, and the Marquis's own confused gray areas. Internal family secrets are the hardest to investigate, especially concerning events from 10 or 20 years ago. There was almost no way to verify anything. Marquis, watch your words. The Emperor's decree was to verify the identities. Now that the results are clear, if the Marquis has any objections, he may submit a petition. But shouting in the hall and slandering your legal wife, what kind of decorum is that? Fake father looked at the hall full of children who were not of his kin, looked at his terrifyingly calm legal wife, then at the expressionless officials from the imperial clan, and the eunuchs who kept their eyes to the ground, but were listening intently. A massive, icy despair gripped him. He instantly seemed to age 20 years. His entire spirit collapsed. The young masters and ladies in the courtyard were even more terrified. Eldest brother's fists were clenched tight, yet he didn't know who to hate. Second brother's face was ashen. His long-held pride and support had suddenly crumbled. Fifth brother was at a loss. Looking at this one. Looking at that one. The sisters began to sob quietly. Their futures were pitch black. But what was most surprising was that the real daughter Lu Chanchan's blood also didn't merge. No. My blood must merge. I am father's biological daughter. I was born to the sixth concubine. Look again, look again. She tried to grab the bowl, but was held down firmly by the servants. The 2 drops of blood in the bowl remained clearly separate. It's not that there's a problem with the water. There must be a problem with the water. Mother. Mother, say something. You said. Chanchan is overly stimulated. Take her down to rest. Have a doctor take a look. It's not like this. No. Didn't you say? Did you say it? The farce seemed to end with the Marquis's total collapse and the complete ruin of the children's futures. However, with so many non-Marquis bloodlines, testing each one to see if they were of royal blood was not feasible. The current situation clearly far exceeded their expectations upon arrival. Originally, it was just a secret order to focus on investigating the one the Marquis pushed forward, Lu Hongxian, who was suspected of having ties to the Prince of Jing, to warn the restless Marquis Lu. Who would have thought that this bowl of clear water would reveal a total annihilation? All of the Marquis's children on the surface, including the recently returned certainly real daughter, none were blood-related to the Marquis. This was no longer a simple case of muddied bloodlines or poor household management. It was practically the biggest joke in the world. Appalling and unheard of. Lord Zongjing. How do we report this? His Majesty only asked to verify if the Marquis's offspring include any royal blood. But now there are so many. How can we test them all one by one? Old Lord Zongjing frowned, his face filled with solemnity. If there truly is royal blood lost among the common people, especially one that could be directly related to the late emperor, that would be a matter of grave importance. It would be 100 times more serious than the Marquis's fake bloodline. But the question is, how to test, and who to test? Standing and kneeling in the hall, there were over a dozen men and women. Every one of them could have a special origin, but every one of them could also just be an ordinary bastard. Could we take them all back and have them each do a blood test with the emperor? That would be absurd. No dynasty or era has ever operated that way. Without evidence or basis. Merely because they are not the Marquis's biological children. To suspect they are all royal, if this gets out, where would the royal dignity remain? Where would the court's decorum be? Matters involving royal blood require absolute caution. There must be a clear clue to follow. Moreover, Lord Zongjing and Eunuch Wang came today, only with the decree and preparations to test the Marquis's line. The Marquis's poor management led to a muddied bloodline. His children are either fakes or commoners. This is a grave error. His Majesty will surely be furious when he hears of it. However, what the madam said just now is not without reason. Inner court matters from many years ago are difficult to investigate thoroughly. These young masters and ladies, regardless of their parentage, were raised in the Marquis mansion after all. They call the Marquis father, and the Madam mother. Now that it is all suddenly exposed, for them, it is also a bolt from the blue. Their futures are ruined. It is truly pitiful. The primary task at hand is to return to the palace and report the Marquis' bloodline issue to the Emperor. At this critical time, we ask His Majesty to decide the Marquis' punishment. As for the placement of these young masters and ladies, the implications are vast. Those whose identities are unclear may need further investigation. But who to check first? What should we use as a basis? He seemed to be asking old Zongjing, yet also asking everyone present. And even more like he was hinting at something. This is the fourth miss of the mansion? Yes. That jade pendant on your person. Could you let this old man have a look? Every eye in the hall instantly focused on me. Lu Qianqian even forgot her crying, and stared fixedly at the jade pendant. My heart drummed like thunder. I presented the jade pendant with both hands. He looked at it for a long time. Long enough for the air to nearly solidify again. Eunuch Wang, please look at this pattern. And this jade quality, this color. This jade pendant matches the characteristics of the pieces carved from the Guardian Forest Snow Jade in the palace perfectly. Could it be the Forest Snow Jade passed down by the great ancestor? Exactly the Xinling pattern. The way the blood-colored vein runs is identical to a certain raw stone record in the secret archives. It's exactly the same. Years ago, when the Prince of Jing performed great service, the late emperor allowed him to take a piece of the jade to carve a protective pendant for the child about to be born, to ensure their health and safety. This pendant is precisely the one made back then. Another thunderclap. Even more shocking than before, making everyone's head spin. The Marquis was completely dumbfounded. First Mother, Lady Shen, finally opened her eyes and looked at me. Her gaze was bottomless, filled with relief, melancholy, and something I couldn't understand. A heavy burden finally lifted. Lu Qianqian started screaming. Impossible. She's a fake. She's just a bastard child picked up from somewhere. How could she be a princess? I am the real daughter of the Marquis mansion. Silence. This is a royal heirloom. How dare you slander it? Eunuch Wang immediately sent someone back to the palace to request the emperor's decree and retrieve all related archives from those years. Fourth miss. No. This young lady. Please follow us to the side hall. Before His Majesty's clear judgment is made, your safety must be guaranteed. I was respectfully yet firmly invited to the side hall, leaving behind a room full of people like frozen clay statues. Wow, I'm a princess? Wait, no, the jade pendant was given by First Mother. Could First Mother be faking royal bloodlines too? This matter was no longer up to First Mother, nor was it up to me. When the news reached the palace, there was a long silence after the emperor found out. It was said he sat alone in the imperial study all night, looking at the jade pendant over and over again. The next day, the decree was issued. Marquis Lu Zhenya had failed in his household management and muddied the bloodline, intending to deceive the sovereign. He should be severely punished. However, due to his service in raising the princess, and the fact that the princess was technically his daughter, he was granted leniency. His marquis title was stripped, demoting him to Count of Yong'an. His salary was suspended for 3 years, and he was to reflect on his errors behind closed doors. His son, Lu Hongxian, was removed from the family registry and expelled from the capital, never to be employed again. Fourth Miss Lu Yunqi was indeed the emperor's daughter who had been lost among the people. She was conferred the title of Princess Anning, and was to be brought into the palace immediately. As for my biological mother, Lady Feng, she was posthumously honored as noble imperial consort Jiaxi. As for the other children of the Marquis mansion, the imperial decree didn't even mention them. The meaning was clear. Your father isn't your biological father anymore. You can do whatever you want. It has nothing to do with the royal family, so don't even think about riding our coattails. The Marquis, now Count, mansion, went from a house full of children to being empty overnight, and the resemblance between Lu Qianqian and sixth concubine Lu, in the end, became the proof of a meticulously planned fake case. Lu Qianqian had no way to defend herself. The bloodline and resemblance she relied on earlier had all become a joke. Ultimately, she was charged with impersonating a noble offspring and expelled from the Count mansion. Thus, amidst a chaotic mess, intense resentment, and gazes of disbelief, I was taken away by the imperial procession. The palace is complex. Be careful in everything. You are used to your maid, so let her go with you. She can take care of you. First Mother was referring to the one who had always stayed by my side, silent and reserved. My delicate-looking personal maid, Qinghe. Though I found it strange. At this moment my mind was in a turmoil, and I had no time to think much, so I nodded in agreement. The carriage drove toward the palace. I touched the jade pendant in my bosom, watching the plaque of the Marquis mansion recede rapidly outside the window. It felt like a lifetime ago. In just a few short days, I went from an awkward fake daughter to a noble true princess. But there wasn't a trace of joy in my heart. Only a thick sense of unease and absurdity. This jade pendant was given by First Mother. Everything I knew was told to me by First Mother. Does the Emperor really believe I am his daughter? That evidence can fool others. But can it fool him? Entering the palace for the audience, the Emperor looked at me with a complex expression. He didn't ask too many details. He merely patted my head and said, "It's good that you've returned. I will compensate you." Rewards poured into my new palace like a flowing stream. Life suddenly felt like it was on fast forward. I worked hard to adapt to a princess's life, learning palace etiquette and dealing with the probes from various factions. Qinghe was indeed capable and appropriate. She managed the palace affairs in an orderly fashion. She was also loyal to the core, which saved me a lot of worry. Just when I thought this absurd play would end with me reclaiming my lineage and living in wealth and honor, an even more terrifying plot twist arrived. It was an ordinary afternoon when the Empress called me over for a flower viewing party. During our conversation, for some reason, the topic shifted to my experiences while lost among the commoners. Speaking of which, this girl Qinghe beside Princess Anning. I find her face somewhat familiar. Especially when she lowers her eyes. She actually resembles that portrait of Lady Foam, stored in His Majesty's study, by quite a few degrees. Your servant is terrified. Your servant's humble appearance. How could I dare compare to an immortal? Raise your head. Let me have a look. The contours of those eyes. That gentle temperament. The expressions of the elder concubines and clan elders present. All shifted slightly. She truly does look like her. Especially her expression when she is quiet. I remember when noble consort Feng passed away. She had a personal maid with her. Later, the noble consort met with disaster, and the maid's whereabouts became unknown. Her words were like a boulder dropped into a calm lake. Everyone's gaze once again darted between Qinghe and me, full of uncertainty. Just then, an urgent announcement came from outside the palace, saying the Yong'an Count Mansion had sent someone in a rush to report an urgent matter to the princess. The visitor was Nanny Li. Her face was pale, and she fell to her knees with a thud. "Your Highness, this servant deserves 10,000 deaths. While organizing First Mother's old belongings today, I discovered a deathbed letter left by noble consort Feng. The letter states she did indeed give birth to a daughter back then, but fearing harm from enemies. On the night she went into labor, she swapped her biological daughter with a newborn girl from a farming family. Noble consort Feng's letter says her biological daughter has a green birthmark the size of a coin on her left shoulder, and a small red mole behind her ear. This servant has verified it. Miss Qinghe does have a green birthmark on her left shoulder, and she has a red mole behind her ear as well." As Nanny Li's voice fell, there was dead silence. I felt as if I'd fallen into an ice cellar. It seemed the blood in my entire body had frozen. Meanwhile, Qinghe collapsed on the floor, her face covered in tears. All the evidence underwent a world-shaking reversal at this moment. According to this newly surfaced deathbed letter, Qinghe was the biological daughter of the noble consort, the true royal bloodline, while I, Lu Yunqi, was merely a substitute from a farm family. So, I had turned back from a true princess into a fake one. First Mother, what exactly are you doing? The air seemed to be completely sucked out in that instant. The deathbed letter, the birthmark, Han Xian and Qinghe, all the evidence. Those gazes of pity and scrutiny were like a cold, sticky net, trapping me tightly. The jade pendant kept close to my chest seemed to become the ironclad proof of my stolen identity. The Empress, with unprecedented solemnity, looked at me with a gaze that was complex and hard to read. "This matter is of great importance. It must be reported to the Emperor immediately." That gaze made my heart turn cold. Qinghe was carefully helped up by the palace maids. The look she gave me was full of guilt. "Miss." She seemed to want to say something, but was stopped by a nanny. "Miss Qinghe, please follow us to the side hall to rest first. His Majesty will arrive momentarily." She was no longer my maid. She might be the true royal blood, while I, Lu Yunqi, was like a counterfeit about to be exposed, facing a silent judgment from all sides. The Emperor walked in with hurried steps. He saw the tearful Qinghe, and his breathing seemed to hitch for a moment. Then, his gaze turned to me, standing stiffly to the side. "What on earth is going on?" The Empress stepped forward to present the items, reporting everything quickly in a low voice. The Emperor took the letter, his fingers trembling slightly. He then picked up the jade pendant, holding it to the light to look at the blood stain and dragon carving. "Lu Yunqi, what do you have to say for yourself?" What could I say? This could all be a trap set by my First Mother. As for evidence, I was confused myself. That was the truth, but it was useless. "Your servant has nothing to say. Everything is for your Majesty to decide." I didn't defend myself, nor did I wail, because I suddenly remembered when I left the mansion. First Mother gripped my hand with a complex expression. "Be careful in everything." And the maid she pushed onto me, Qinghe, Perhaps this scene before me was within her expectations. The emperor remained silent for a long time. So long that the pain in my knees became sharp. And even the incense ash in the hall had fallen a notch. Place Qinghe in the side hall of Changle Palace for now. Move Lu Yunqi to the hall of silent reflection. Her treatment shall remain as it was for the moment. Take everyone involved into custody for interrogation. I want a clear, unmistakable truth. The hall of silent reflection. It was the most remote and desolate place in the palace, practically a cold palace. From Princess Anning's palace, I was quietly ushered here. Qinghe did not come with me. She went to Changle Palace, where she was better protected and prioritized. Night fell. In the hall of silent reflection, there were only a few scattered lamps. The wind outside wailed, reminding me vividly of the Count mansion. On that night I overheard the shocking secret. I sat on the cold bed with my knees pulled up, tightly clutching that jade pendant which no longer belonged to me. It hadn't been taken away. Perhaps it's because the emperor still needs it as evidence. Or perhaps there were other doubts. The emperor's uncontrollable shock when he saw Qinghe. And when Qinghe was crying. The complex, unspeakable gaze we occasionally exchanged. If Qinghe is the real one, why did First Mother give the jade pendant to me? Unless this play of the true and false princess has an even deeper purpose. Days in the hall of silent reflection were like a pool of stagnant water. I was confined here. Completely cut off from the outside world. The daily meals weren't crude. I even occasionally saw a few types of pastries. But those two taciturn palace maids were like two emotionless, stone statues. Aside from necessary service and guarding, they wouldn't say a single word. They thought I was asleep. Their voices were low, but amplified by the silence. Fragments drifted into my ears. I heard the Count and the Countess have both been imprisoned. Those young masters and misses, and even that real daughter, are all being interrogated in fury. Through the thorough investigation, none can escape. And the one in here, it'll be the execution of the whole family. So Qinghe's identity had been confirmed. The Yong'an Count mansion, muddling the bloodline was already a capital crime. To then treat the true royal blood as a maid. It was simply a crime upon crime. Unpardonable. The emperor's current mercy might only be to keep me, Lu Yunqi, in solitary confinement, to avoid interfering with the swift disposal of the Count's family. Or perhaps my use wasn't over yet. Slowly, bit by bit, I pieced together the fragments I'd heard, trying to reconstruct First Mother's entire plan, in its most likely form. Suppose Qinghe is the real princess. Noble consort Feng's biological daughter. After being hastily swapped back then, First Mother used unknown means to find her, and had kept her secretly by her side all along, until the time was ripe. She used that deathbed letter and the birthmark to push her forward. And I, Lu Yunqi, am probably that farm girl the noble consort used for the swap. First Mother adopted me, simply to use me as a smokescreen to cover for Qinghe. She pushed me to be the fake princess, to block all scrutiny and danger for her. Once the real princess was safely restored to her position, a fake like me would naturally lose all value, even becoming living proof of the deception. As for that heir, Lu Hongxian, he was originally a pawn for the Count to seek merit. First Mother beat him at his own game, making him the scapegoat for deceiving the sovereign. The real Lu Chanxian. She was indeed of the Count mansion's blood, but unfortunately born at the wrong time, instead becoming the most awkward existence. So, in my life, from a dragon's daughter to the Count's daughter, to a princess, and now to a criminal, it seemed full of ups and downs. But in reality, every step was on someone else's chessboard. The only bit of luck, perhaps, is that compared to those about to be executed, I've stolen these few extra days of life, and experienced a period of fake fatherly love. Thinking of the emperor, my heart felt a sharp, subtle sting. It wasn't romantic love, but the natural trust and adoration a child has for a father. In the Count mansion, my adoptive father Lu Zhenye's love was only given to those who were useful. The emperor once treated me as his own daughter. The concern in his eyes, and his clumsy rewards were also real. But now, it was all fake. In his eyes, I was just a fraud who dared to muddle the royal bloodline and deceive the sovereign. Day and night were equally long in the hall of silent reflection. I sat by the window, watching the fallen leaves in the courtyard, and listening to the howling north wind. My heart was already numb. Waiting for judgment is more agonizing than death. I didn't know which day the imperial decree would suddenly arrive. Would it be a white silk cord, or poisoned wine? This stolen life should finally come to an end. But why? I didn't expect that the one coming wouldn't be a life-taking eunuch, but First Mother, Shen Mingzhu. That afternoon, the hall of silent reflection was exceptionally bustling. A group of well-dressed, efficient palace maids filed in. The leading nanny held a magnificent tray in her hands, which was surprisingly filled with various formal dresses and jewelry. Shen Mingzhu was dressed in a new, dark purple noblewoman's robe, wearing a vermilion crown. Her face looked more radiant than ever before. What are you still standing there for? It's getting late. Quickly, change and do your makeup. The true princess was restored, so I, the final counterfeit, before being sent to my death, was to be brought out and dressed up. To play out the final scene of the act, for them to enjoy and mock? Their movements weren't exactly rough, but they carried an unquestionable force. They loosened my hair, combed through the long strands. The cold teeth of the comb scraped across my scalp, causing a slight sting. Golden hairpins and pearl flowers. One by one, cold objects were inserted into my hair, tugging at the roots. I looked in the bronze mirror. At that, gorgeously adorned yet unfamiliar version of myself. My eyes burned, but I forced myself to hold back tears. Get up and turn around. Let me see. I stood up blankly. Like a marionette. My head is about to be chopped off. And you still want me to be an actress for your final show? This is too much, perhaps because the numb expression of accepting death on my face was too obvious. First Mother finally noticed something was wrong. She waved her hand, dismissing the surrounding palace maids and nannies. What's with that look on your face? Who has offended you now? Mother, no. Madam. Is your visit this time to see me off on my final journey? To watch me eat my last meal, and comb my hair beautifully so I can be on my way? Who said anything about chopping off your head? And who told you that you were going to die? Is that not the case? Am I not a fake? The real princess has been found. As a fake, how could I think otherwise? I went through all that effort to turn the Count mansion upside down. Was it just so I could, in the end, create a fake princess to deceive the emperor, and get myself killed as well? Yunji, listen well. From beginning to end. You are the real one. You are the biological daughter of noble consort Feng. The bloodline of the current emperor. A true member of the royal house. The most noble princess of the great Zhou dynasty. Since it's come to this, there's nothing I can't tell you. Your mother, noble consort Feng, was indeed pregnant when she met with disaster back then. Her father, your grandfather, was once the imperial tutor, but was framed for a crime in court. Due to the previous emperor's suspicion, and the interference of various factions, your mother could not be properly settled. As a result, she was left wandering outside, and her labor was fraught with danger. To keep you safe, I took the swap plan that was already in motion, and modified it. You are the princess. The farm girl who was supposed to replace Lu Chanqian was Qinghe. I am truly the princess? As for Lu Hongxian, he was just a farm boy who resembled Lu Zhenye. Not his biological son. His Majesty's path to the throne was treacherous, and the various factions were deeply intertwined. Rather than exposing you to the open as a target, it was better to keep you hidden, so you could grow up safely. As for those siblings of yours, the more outstanding they were, the more attention they would attract, and the safer you would be. But what about the birthmark on Qinghe's back? The deathbed letter and the birthmark were both fake. That play about the true and false princess was to lure the snakes out of their holes. Although His Majesty has ascended the throne, the remnants of those who harmed your grandfather's family, and those dissatisfied with His Majesty, who hoped to use the royal bloodline to stir trouble, remained hidden. A princess lost and found, yet potentially doubtful, is most likely to stir the undercurrents, and make them reveal themselves, in the eyes of outsiders. His Majesty didn't know when Lady Feng gave birth. If there was one fake princess, there would be two. And perhaps even a real prince. As expected, quite a few of them took the bait. The cleanup is now mostly complete. But why didn't anyone tell me? I knew nothing. I thought I was a fake. A pawn that could be discarded at any time. I was terrified for so long. Blame me for this. And blame your imperial father as well. I thought that once His Majesty took you into the palace, he would naturally explain everything to you. I specifically warned you about the complexity of the palace. And to be careful in everything, I had you take Qinghe with you, so that if anything changed, Qinghe could drop hints to you. Or His Majesty would tell you the truth. Sigh. Who knew your imperial father would be so unreliable? It wasn't convenient for me to go into detail. I only hinted for him to tell you the facts as soon as possible. But he was so busy enjoying family life and playing with his daughter that he forgot the important business entirely. It's simply outrageous. Shen Mingzhu. I don't like those words. I never heard you say that I should tell her the truth quickly. You only said the palace is complex and left Yunqi in my care. Naturally, I thought you had arranged everything. Besides, your Count mansion wasn't safe. And my palace wasn't clean either. No matter how you look at it, you, the person who had been raising her, should have found an opportunity to explain things to her. Now that the child has been scared half to death, you're blaming me? First Mother, Shen Mingzhu, this countess who had just been full of authority and in control of everything. Although she still kept her back straight before the emperor, her gaze flickered for a moment. Clearly, she felt somewhat in the wrong, but she refused to admit defeat. Your Majesty is mistaken. This servant was in a den of wolves and tigers. Every move monitored. How could I speak plainly? On the contrary, Your Majesty, having brought the princess back and enjoyed the reunion, It should have been natural to tell her the truth. Why delay until now? Leaving the princess in such terror? I was merely looking for the right opportunity. Opportunity? The princess has been living in fear in the hall of silent reflection. Was that a right opportunity? Am I not here now? And look at you, dressed so grandly. Aren't you afraid of attracting attention by coming here? This servant is now a first-rank noblewoman. Why shouldn't I enter and leave the palace as I please? On the contrary, your majesty coming here so secretly is what looks like a guilty conscience. I watched this extraordinary scene unfold. The new emperor of the great Zhou dynasty, and my unfathomable first mother, were like parents in an ordinary family, passing the buck, and arguing before me about whose negligence had led to my miserable experience. After all sorts of emotions surged, they strangely began to settle down, replaced by a warm, swelling feeling, and an extremely absurd urge to both laugh and cry. So I wasn't an unwanted fake. So my unreliable imperial father, and this terrifyingly capable first mother, perhaps I should call her aunt, would also bicker over who should have told me the truth. The tears finally couldn't be held back, falling in large drops, ruining the delicate makeup on my face. The two people who were arguing both stopped, turning to look at me in unison. So, I really am the princess? It won't change again, will it? Silly child. Of course you are real. More real than real blood. The investiture ceremony was grand and magnificent, far exceeding the previous hasty recognition. I wore the most solemn princess's formal robe, under the watch of all the civil and military officials, and to the chanting of the master of ceremonies, I walked up the platform step by step. From the hands of my imperial father, I received the imperial patent and seal, representing the status of Princess Anning. This time, my heart was no longer filled with fear and pretension, only a heavy, down-to-earth sense of belonging. I am Lu Yunqi, Princess Anning of the Great Zhou. After the ceremony ended, I moved back into a renovated, even more magnificent, and spacious princess palace. Everything in the palace was exquisite, and the maids and eunuchs were respectful and professional. It all showed the emperor's extreme favor for his lost and found daughter. But a shadow still remained in my heart, a hint of uncertainty that hadn't quite settled. Until that afternoon, after the emperor had finished his governmental affairs, he wandered over to my palace, like a father in an ordinary family. He asked me what I wanted to eat, saying a new chef from the south had arrived in the palace. I looked at his smiling face, hesitated several times, and finally couldn't help but tug at his sleeve. Imperial father, let me confirm one more time. I really am your daughter, right? There won't be any more surprises, right? Ha 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 ha. Oh, you. Ha ha ha. Why are you still thinking about this? Didn't I say it? It's absolutely true. But that heir of Count Lu, he also looks quite a lot like him. Resemblance, sometimes. It can be quite deceiving. Yunqi, you look 70 to 80% like your mother. Especially when you smile. When I first saw you in the Count mansion, my heart was already shaken. It's just that it was in public back then, and I didn't dare to recognize you hastily, fearing it would be to your disadvantage. Moreover, you were never truly out of my sight since you were a child. Your legal mother, Madame Shen, would often send out messages. The sugar dolls you liked, the special set of silver needles you used for embroidery, and that health-restoring medical book. Did you really think the Marquis' mansion went to such trouble, or that Madame Shen gave them to you just because you were well-behaved? I was the one who sought those things out, sent them to Madame Shen through various channels, so they would accidentally fall into your hands. I know you like the osmanthus cakes from Liji in the south of the city. I know you're afraid of thunder. I know you memorize books quickly, but your handwriting is just average. I missed so much of your upbringing, so I could only use these small ways to participate in your life. So, those scattered moments of warmth and special favors weren't without reason. The last bit of doubt and resentment in my heart vanished at this moment. In its place was a surge of emotion and a sting in my nose. Imperial father. The atmosphere was just right. And I suddenly remembered another question that had been lingering for a long time. Then, my mother, Consort Feng Huang. Was she truly your most beloved? The storybooks all say so. An infatuated emperor, his white moonlight dying young, leaving behind an only child, to be showered with favor. Unexpectedly, upon hearing this, a very strange expression appeared on his face. It looked like a toothache, or perhaps embarrassment, mixed with a hint of indescribable humiliation. No, he answered curtly, almost through gritted teeth. Ah? Your mother was my junior sister apprentice. We studied under the same master, who was also your maternal grandfather. Her talent was so high, her spirit so proud. It was something all of us fellow disciples could hardly reach. In her words, us princes and imperial grandsons, in her eyes, were nothing more than slightly smarter brats. I admired her learning, appreciated her character, and viewed her as a friend. as family, but there was never any romantic love between a man and a woman. Moreover, with your mother's temperament, she could make a person jump in anger. I am not a masochist. So why would I fall for her? This is completely different from the sad, beautiful love story I heard. Then how did my mother get pregnant with me? A more terrifying thought emerged. My voice trembled. Could it be that you forced her? Imperial father didn't look like that kind of person. What nonsense. It was clearly your mother who forced me. Back then, your grandfather's family suffered a misfortune. The family met with disaster, leaving your mother all alone. She was resilient, determined to protect her family's legacy. But the situation was dire, and the path ahead was unknown. She said the Zhao family owed the Feng family an explanation. And she also wanted to leave a piece of hope and concern for the Feng family. So, she chose you? Yes. With sharp brows and starry eyes, and an elegant bearing. Even though he was older now, he was still a rare handsome man. He must have been even more handsome when he was young. It wasn't just about looks, your mother said. Her child must have the most noble bloodline, and the strongest protection, to survive in this dog-eat-dog world, and perhaps one day have the chance to clear the Feng family's name. She was very skilled back then, and she knew the vital points. One moment of carelessness, and I fell into her trap. In short, when I woke up, what was done was done. She only left one sentence: I borrowed your bloodline. When the child is born in the future, all debts between us will be settled. There is no need to look for me. And then, she vanished without a trace. This plot is too. Mother is so mighty. So, the reason you found her later was because of me? I had been searching for her in secret. When I finally heard news of her being in danger, I arrived just in time to protect you, who were still in swaddling clothes. In her pride, she never bowed her head to me. And she never asked me for anything. His voice lowered, filled with endless regret. It was my incompetence, that I failed to protect her. I looked at the deep pain and self-reproach in my father's eyes. And my heart felt heavy too. Father wasn't heartless toward mother. It was another kind of more complex and profound emotion. There was admiration, guilt, regret for failing to protect her, perhaps the helplessness of being outplayed, and the eternal bond brought by their shared bloodline. Mother must have trusted you very much, which is why she chose you to be my father. Yes. I knew that once the dust settled. The speed at which the court rewarded merit was faster than when my old man used to grab the last plate of crystal pork trotters. First of all, my dad. Oh wait, he's my imperial father now. He gave me 3 titles in one go. 8 estates, 12 boxes of jewelry, and a pair of imperial chefs dedicated to testing my food, fearing I'd remember the days of eating pickles in the Marquis' mansion. Imperial father, I can't finish it all. My appetite isn't that big. My daughter must never go hungry. Fine, even the dogs in the princess's palace are in luck. Secondly, my aunt, Miss Shen Mingzhu. On the day the rewards came down from the court, she was calmly arranging flowers. The imperial decree read, Madame Jenny, first-rank noblewoman, granted a double salary and an iron certificate of immunity. The scissors in her hand remained steady, without the slightest wobble. Aunt, aren't you happy? I am happy. But compared to this, I'm even happier. That half of Lu Xinye's travel expenses for his exile came from my dowry. Aunt, you're really something. Later, she established her own household and opened a girls' academy, specifically to take in girls who had been abandoned by their families. I asked her why. If such a place had existed back then, perhaps your mother wouldn't have had to go that far. Of course, mostly I'm just bored. After getting revenge, one has to find something to do. As for the Marquis' mansion, oh, now it's those brothers and sisters from the Qian family. Eldest brother Lu Hongwu came to see me before his departure. He was silent for a long time, and in the end, he only said one thing. Princess, I'm sorry for what I did to you before. Before second brother Lu Hongwen was sent out to be a county magistrate, his poor scholar father came with a cane to see his son off. Ah, don't be greedy. Don't worry, father. Your son remembers your teachings. Later, I heard that second brother governed the county so well that no one would take what's left on the road, but the county office was so poor that even the mice moved out, because the magistrate paid out of his own pocket to repair bridges and roads. When his scholar father found out, he excitedly wrote another record of my son's official career. Fifth brother Lu Hongli went to a security agency. When he came back from his first escort mission, his face was bruised and swollen. Sister, the world outside is really big. Did you go to escort or to fight? I ran into bandits. I single-handedly defeated 8 of them. The head escort said I was born for this job. When blacksmith Zhang heard about it, he forged a pair of arm guards overnight. Save your strength. I can't hammer anymore. Later, fifth brother became the star escort of the agency, known in the martial world as Iron Fist Lu. His biological father hung a sign at the blacksmith shop, weapons forged by Iron Fist Lu's father. Business was booming for the next 3 years. Third sister, fourth sister. Aunt had already prepared dowries for all the girls. They all married into clean, decent families. When some in-laws tentatively asked about their complex backgrounds, if there's any problem with the girls married off by Shin Mingzhu, come and talk to me, no one dared to gossip again. Now they often gather to drink tea and embroider, occasionally complaining about their husbands' low salaries, and their children being too naughty, but no one mentions the Marquis' mansion, and no one mentions the past. It was as if it were all just a shared, somewhat unpleasant dream. Fifth Miss, Lu Chanyu, married a tea merchant as his second wife. The merchant knew she came from a scholarly family, and treated her with great respect. Her life was stable and fulfilling. Later I heard she had mellowed out a lot, and even helped the merchant manage the shop. The business was doing well. That's good. People must learn to be grounded. The most pathetic one was Lu Chanqian, the real daughter. True bloodline, true bad luck. She tried to cause trouble for me, shouting outside the princess's mansion that she was the princess. In the end, she was sent to the most remote manor and confined. I went to see her once. She was sitting on a field ridge, staring blankly, clutching a handful of wild vegetables in her hand. When she saw me, her gaze was first resentful, then bewildered, and finally she lowered her head. Perhaps she finally understood that whether one is real or fake doesn't matter. Living well is what's important. As for Lu Hongxian, that ambitious fake heir, he disappeared after his identity was revealed. Some say they saw him in Jiangnan, acting as a strategist for some prince. Some say they saw him beyond the border, rushing about with a merchant caravan. Others say, his mind was gone, and he would tell anyone he met that he should have had a noble status. Who knows? There are always some people in this world who would rather stay lost in their illusory thoughts. On the day Qinghe left, I escorted her to the city gate. You can finally go see the apricot blossoms and autumn rains of Jiangnan. Manage your embroidery shop well. I want you to make all my clothes from now on. Take care, princess. You too, Sister Qinghe. She didn't want a title, nor land. She only wanted freedom. Perhaps to her, being a princess was a shackle, and being ordinary was her true destination. Aunt, do you hate that cheap father of mine? I used to. Now it's like watching a play come to an end. The act is finished, and the audience should go home. Actually, until the very end, he didn't know that I deliberately switched Hongxian. He thought it was just his bad luck that he found a child who looked just like him. And, you're a professional at psychological warfare. I have a gentle and kind aunt who treats me like her own, who is also the elder guiding me. I have many relatives around me with different personalities, each living their own peaceful lives. In the palace, there are many delicious and exquisite snacks to enjoy. In this life, sometimes it's like a game of chess my imperial father once played. Just when you think you're at a dead end, a new path opens up. Just when you think you've lost everything. Actually, the best part of the show has just begun.